Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Fanon. I'm your host, Sergio, also known as Roxas the Hunter. I am joined by Equinox Doodles, also known as Michael, and Anus Hotcakes, also known as Jacob. At first, I'd like to start out by announcing our sponsor, recording bots that aren't Craig.
Fuck you,
As
Craig.
Craig has deleted the bonus episode that we talked about in the last episode, so that will need to be re-recorded at some point. Apologize for that, but when we re-record it, it will be better than before. You'll just have to take my word on it.
Yeah. Fuck you, Craig. I hate you for everything. You're a good for nothing son of a bitch, but we have to use you because
That's true.
you're the only bot that I know of that's in a decent server, aka Canada.
Fuck
So
Canada.
yeah, it's a Canadian bot. So fuck you, Craig.
Speaking of Canada, SYTYCFanon, I don't know if you're watching this, but if you are, nice haircut. Smiley face.
Smiley face.
So, are we ready for what I come bearing today?
What gifts have you come bearing?
As ready as I'll ever be.
This is called Left for Dead, Tour of Terror by Colonel
boy.
Liam.
I'm scared.
So before I link it, I would like to read the author's note because I think you're going to enjoy this, Sergio.
I'm afraid.
Author's notes. Hello, everyone. It's me, Colonel Liam, and we are back once again with another project of mine that I've recently decided I would like to do. A remaster of the first story I ever started writing for this website back in 2015, A Tale of Survival. I have a couple of reasons for wanting to do this, so please hear me out. Firstly, since I started writing A Tale of Survival in 2015 and I didn't finish it until mid-2019, I have come to feel that the early chapters in particular are quite poor in comparison to the rest of the story. Secondly, overall, I feel with some parts of the story, I rushed it and thus it didn't turn out as good as I wanted to and went back... Burping.
Burping?
Burping. Back to glance over it much later, therefore, I am now going to redo the whole thing and add new things and change existing things, and I think it would make it a lot better than the first version that I completed. This version will be longer as I add these new ideas, so I hope you all enjoy my redo of A Tale of Survival. While the story will only be rated T, I will point out that this will get a bit darker in some areas. Especially involving things like the attack of Riverside and the Angels of Death. For those who have seen the first version of the story, with all that I said, I hope you enjoy Left 4 Dead Tour of Terror, which I've decided will be the new name of the new version of the story, but for anyone who has seen the first version, you will most likely know the characters we are going to meet.
That had big, yo, what's up, gamers?
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Jake Cock Grabbis 61. Today I'm gonna be grabbing my own cock for the 83rd time. My dog is scratching at my door. Hold on.
Is that the introduction to your OnlyFans videos?
How'd you know? Sorry, my dog wants to be in the room while we record, I guess.
Alright, shout out to the dog. Let's go, dog.
Shout out to Polly.
Hopefully she doesn't take the cum sock again.
First of all, I don't have one of those, and second of all, that was Paisley.
Paisley, why would you take the sacred
socks.
sock?
It was just a dirty sock on the ground that missed my...
Okay, I'm noticing from pulling this up that this doesn't have any dialogue in it, unless he forgot to put quotation marks around what would be dialogue.
I think he forgot to put quotation marks.
Oh dear. This is already going to be a fucking trip. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I don't like that this is this looks like an essay. It's 5 paragraphs, 5 big old paragraphs.
5 whole big old paragraphs.
I don't know how old this guy is.
He
joined in November of 2012, it says. And he started writing in 2015.
Well, he is at least 8 years old.
He's at least
confirmed
8
that.
years old. He was straight out the womb writing fanfic.
Yeah, he got shot out of the room. He's like, I like Left 4 Dead. Mommy, check out my amazing fanfiction.
As someone who got Left 4 Dead on an Xbox 360 for his 10th birthday, which I'm just gonna say, horrible parenting. I had to skip the intro of that game every time I started it because it would make me cry if I got to the part where the witch attacked Lewis because it was a jump scare.
That's fair.
Shout out to my parents for buying me an Xbox 360, but now that I'm an adult, I understand that was a bad idea.
Indeed.
Anyways, hold on. Let me take a sip before I get into reading.
A big
shall I?
sippy.
Let me just.
I think I'll start and give you a little break because that sounded like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. First off, green flu virus should be capitalized. It is a name of a organism. But let's continue.
I'm pretty sure.
Chapter
Wait,
one-
before we go, I just want to say, fun fact. I'm pretty sure the term green flu had not been used in any Left 4 Dead media until Payday the Heist.
Oh yeah?
So there's your fun fact.
Huh.
All right. So, Left 4 Dead: Tour of Terror. The journey to escape death can be a long and frightening one. There's no period. Chapter 1: The Petty Convict. Fairfield. 2 days after first infection, the green flu virus had taken taken most of what the citizens of Fairfield called a normal life, and had caused it to spiral out of control. Those that remained in the city were now forced to fight for their lives. Those who were infected by the virus became violent and angry to the point of brutally murdering anyone who wasn't like them. The police and the military, as well as the CEDA, had CEDA had tried to contain the virus and stop its spread as best as they could, but it was, of course, to no avail. I don't know why I'm having trouble reading this.
Probably because there's no fucking punctuation.
Hold on, I gotta zoom the page in a little bit because for whatever reason, how stretched out this is fucking with me. Okay,
Honestly,
so
it's not that there's no punctuation. It's just that it's a big block of text.
yeah,
That's fair.
so of course to no avail, they're supposed to ban the city entirely, leaving the humans that remained dead. Leaving the humans that remained for dead as they desperately fought to find the shelter and wait it out.
Could you say that they were
Left 4 Dead?
Left 4 Dead?
At least until the army got a better grip on the situation. In the end, all normal forms of life had stopped, as all work ethics were closed down and left behind as workers fled to escape the virus that had plagued its inhabitants. Most of the city had searched all around him, looking for any signs of... Wait, the city had already... Oh, sorry, I skipped. I'm having trouble reading this.
I don't know, like, okay, here's the thing. We've read fan fictions with blocks of text like this. I don't know why. I'm also having I don't know where we are right now. Like, I'm looking at this.
Most of the city had already fallen to despair in the chaos. Within 48 hours, the illness had been in the air of the city. A large prison bus was speeding rather quickly down a large main street of the city, the driver's eyes full of fear as he searched around him looking for any signs of infected approaching the bus. On board were 4 people altogether, the driver and the 3 prisoners he had fled the scene of the prison with. 2 of the male prisoners he had escaped with were sitting in the very back of the bus looking out the various windows as blood and bodies lay all over the street they were driving through. The 3rd prisoner, who was also a male, was sitting quietly in the middle of the row of the bus, not interacting with... I don't know why he did it like that. 2 of the male prisoners and then the other one who was also
But he's
male.
also a guy.
He's also male.
These men and also this man who's also a man are in this bus. The bus is not a man, unfortunately.
With the 3 people, he had been forced to make a run for it. His name was Jake.
That's me.
He was just 21 years old. He had already found himself with a criminal record after being charged with manslaughter.
That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. Put it on record.
No, I'm putting it on record.
It should be even though, but I'll read it as is. Even though he hadn't actually caused anyone's death, he had unfortunately for him been in the wrong place at the wrong time. It sadly cost him dearly. Now he sat there quietly after the events that occurred at the prison he was at, thinking of the dark term events that occurred in the last 2 days. He was a rather tall, good-looking man, standing about 6'2", with short, nicely trimmed blonde hair, sharp green emerald eyes.
You know what? I changed my answer. If being a sexy 6'2", nice-looking man means I have to murder someone.
No, you didn't murder somebody.
Yeah, you did murder someone.
You were just you were tried for murder. You weren't.
I was
framed.
Okay, I can allow being framed for murder on my
board.
You're just a cool dude.
That looked fed up and cold. He wore a prisoner's orange suit that was long sleeved and had red and white Converse on, and had a simple gold stud earring in his left ear, as well as white wristband on his left wrist, which he tugged at quietly as he sat deep in his own thought, not paying attention to the panic of the three men he had been forced into an uneasy alliance with. He wasn't the...
Wait, hold on.
Hey,
I would
Jake,
just like to make a statement before we
Jake.
continue.
go ahead.
This is a prison. They're
Uh-huh.
not going to allow you to have any
Jewelry.
personal accessories, especially
Yeah.
jewelry. You could take
Michael,
the
could you
earring
take
out.
the next paragraph? Because
Oh
I
yeah,
can't
give me
I can't
a
read.
second. Give me a second.
You
Hold on,
could take the earring out and just stab a guard.
Jake. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you
course.
know which side of the ear is most commonly found in gay guys to have pierced?
Is it
It's the left ear.
the left ear? Yeah, I was gonna say left, but
Are
I
you-
forgot my
are
left
you-
and right.
Is this character gay? Question mark.
Question mark. I don't know.
All right.
Maybe if we continue to read, we'll find out.
I'm not sure. He wasn't the best well-behaved person you could meet, but up until being arrested for some bastard's trauma-filled suicide that he took the blame for simply for being the closest to him when it happened, he was what society would call a petty criminal. Being
Manslaughter
involved,
is not a petty crime.
it's not.
It is not.
This man committed suicide. No, sir, you're standing right next to the blood. There's a gun on the floor. It's near your feet. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I'm sure basic forensics would be able to tell that this man killed himself, but
No. Shut up.
Being involved in the occasional shoplifting and burglary of some random corner store every now and then, being involved in black alley card games, a little gambling here and there, and some dodgy dealing with some gangs now and then as well. This was different. In this situation, he hadn't been the cause of any wrongdoing. If it wasn't for the driver of the train who the man went under speaking in his defense, informing the judge and jury that Jake hadn't pushed the man at all and was trying to prevent him from taking his own life, he would have been going down. He would have been going down for murder, but it was reduced to 4 years for manslaughter instead.
What? He got proved innocent, and they're like, yeah, you're going to jail anyways.
Isn't manslaughter and murder the same thing?
No, because
No.
manslaughter is just you accidentally, like, someone died because of your actions. Murder is
yes,
you killed someone died with the intention of you ending their life.
yes,
Gotcha.
manslaughter, the crime of killing a human being without malice, a forethought, or otherwise in circumstances not amounting to murder.
Gotcha.
I don't know. You accidentally you hit someone with your car and you killed them. That would be manslaughter.
But if you like ran someone over with your car with the intent of their death, that is murder.
Okay.
Or like there's such thing as voluntary manslaughter. Like you're in a like you're arguing with Jake, and in the speed of the moment you pick up like a rock and you smash Jake in the head and you killed him.
I
Why
would
would I
prefer
kill
that
Jake?
that didn't happen. I mean,
I would
it's
never
me.
get in an argument with you, Jake.
It's me. It's
that
fair.
was an
I would
example.
I would get you in a civil debate, but never into an argument.
That's true. We know the person who would do that.
Yeah, we do. I'm fine with civil debates as long as it's civil, you know.
I'm fine with civil debates as long as there's crack cocaine involved.
Okay.
I love crack cocaine.
Let that be on the record.
Let that be on record, Your Highness.
He prayed that with everything that was going on, that the driver who saved his skin got away from the city before it all went to shit. That his parents had made it out alive as well. Now that the prison was overrun. Now that the prison he was in was overrun with rampant infected, and that the police were all dead, he had taken the chance and ran for it, finding 2 other inmates and a driver gunning for a bus, and joined them as the infected had attempted to give chase. He remembered one particular card game with some other petty thieves, and a couple of bikers he had shared with once. One of them being the big bearded fellow who loved tattoos and vests called Francis. The dude was
That's
quite
the
different.
guy from the game.
Yeah.
That's not. This isn't lore friendly.
I wouldn't know.
That doesn't. Okay, I'm not gonna go into it. Read
The
the
dude
the sacrifice comics if you care and you're listening.
The dude was quite different to most other men. Had ended up in a black alley card game with he had gotten on quite well if he remembered rightly.
Remember
And
rightly.
rightly. and hoped the man had made it out alive as well. He was suddenly drawn sharply out of his thoughts as suddenly the bus lunged violently to the right, the driver screaming in terror as an infected wearing a hoodie to cover its face had latched onto the front of the bus, screaming in anger as it attempted to smash through the windshield and attack the driver, who was swerving left and right to attempt to force the creature as the two other prisoners were all shouting at the horrid sight of the creature. It was then the driver had unintentionally hit the edge of a left behind truck, and it caused the bus to flip over and crash into several other vehicles as the hooded creature was flung off out of view, which totally does not physically make any sense. This is a prison bus.
This is so hard.
This is a prison bus being flipped over because he hit the edge of a fucking truck.
Maybe it was they didn't say what kind of truck. Maybe it was like a 16-wheeler.
Why would they? It would just say a semi then. This is just a left behind truck. That's true.
Maybe it was like an F-350.
I have no idea what you're talking about because I'm not into cars.
So you know what a Ford F-150 is?
No.
Do you know what a truck is?
Yeah.
Okay, so a normal truck is an F-150.
Okay.
There's the F-250, which is like a thick truck, and then there's the F-350, which is like chunk.
Gotcha.
That's the kind of truck you get if you need to haul like big things.
Okay. I get you. Jake had found himself very disoriented after that for a few minutes, at least, as he slowly pulled himself to his feet, realizing that as the bus had come to a stop, he had been knocked out through a window that had shattered only onto the pavement at the side of the street, shaking his head as he realized he had a cut on his left side of his head. Maybe where he was thrown out onto the pavement, he looked around in panic, jumping in shock as the two other inmates who were on the bus with him also climbed out of the wrecked bus. That was hard to read.
It's not bad, but like, holy man, this is
really
a lot to put into my brain.
I already don't like reading books.
Yeah, I'll take it from here.
Go ahead.
All of them suddenly gasping in shock as the horrid screams of pain of their driver could be heard close by. All of them rushing to the front of the bus to completely freeze in horror, as the driver was laying pinned down to the floor as a hooded creature now was on top of him, ripping his insides out as the man screamed in agony, only to suddenly stop as the infected had done too much damage to his torn-apart body. All of them suddenly turning sharply to make a run for it as the creature suddenly sharply turned to face them, covered in the driver's blood, screaming in fury as it bears its razor-sharp claws. The three men never looking back as they ran made... Sorry, I just...
This is so hard!
That sentence, like, that I just read just, like, finished in my mind. Like, it came out of my mouth, but I needed, like, 15 extra seconds to just comprehend how many ands were in that.
I like how we've been able to get through Chain of Memories faster, like the first chapter, faster than we've been able to get through this because it's so hard to read.
General writing advice: no, you can't do two ands in a row. That's what a comma is for.
And don't run on sentences, please, God, please.
You can use a comma, like one comma, occasionally two, and a semicolon to extend a sentence. At that, you gotta end it. Cut it off.
Like this is the story sitting here like. They looked at the monster, and the monster looked at them, and the monster ran at them, and they ran away from the monster, and the monster kept running, and they ran from the monster as the monster kept running, and then they ran into a house, and they barricaded the door, but the monster tried to get through the door.
Can I make the assumption that this is like... I mean, this is a remake of his, like, first fanfiction. Can I guess that, like, this is like a... I don't know, this is...
Well, this is him rewriting it, so this is assuming this is what he wanted it to be. You know?
Right.
Like, this is the new final product, if that makes sense. So, like, what was the old one like? That's a scary thought. Yeah. Anyway, the three men never looking back as they made a run for an alley they saw from where the bus From where the bus had crashed on the other side of the street, Jake, ahead of the two others, as he appeared to have more stamina, hearing the angry screams of the infected behind them as they continued on. That wasn't even grammatically. That didn't make sense grammatically. Neither did what I just said. But, you know, I'm not writing. I'm reading. Soon enough, they had found themselves out on another street directly in front of a hotel. Looking back, they had not just seen not just the hooded infected leaping in their direction, but many other infected whose eyes were a deep orange, screaming in fury as they charged at them. As they three of them took off running again, one of the men was caught off guard as an infected had leaped at him from behind a car and knocked him to the ground. As he screamed as others came to dogpile him, his screams of agony filling the air as he was torn limb from limb by the infected savages as the rest of the pack continued to chase the other two into the reception area of the hotel, which was completely empty. Jake looked back as suddenly the man he was with ran in the opposite direction, leaving him alone in the reception as the hooded figure gunned straight for him, Jake grunting as he dived into a room beside the reception desk and slammed the door shut before jumping back in shock at the three dead bodies now in the room with him, all of them laying in their own blood as they insides. Okay, sorry, I was trying to figure out where the next line started, but none of the lines that my eyes were defaulting to made sense with the word. They insides lay on the floor around them. He looked back in alarm, hearing loud banging on the door and realizing he was now trapped in a room as a hooded beast was trying to break him to make him his next meal. Looking around, he spotted something that honestly took him by surprise, as in a cabinet was a large wood stock pump action shotgun that had obviously been put there in case hotel staff were in trouble of some kind, which sadly hadn't helped the three people on the floor next to him. Quickly using a crowbar to smash the lock of the cabinet as the door behind him began to dent inwards and split in several places. He tore open the cabinet doors and took hold of the shotgun, locating a large box of shells for the weapon. Cursing up a storm, he cluelessly put shells in the weapon, loading and pumping it, and placing the box of shells into his pocket. That's a big pocket. As he had a nasty feeling he was going to need them from this point onwards, as a large chunk of the door suddenly got torn off as the creature... As, there's so much as.
Look, man, he's doing the stuff as things are happening.
He had a nasty feeling he was going to need it from this point onwards. As a large chunk of the door suddenly got torn off, as the creature pocked its head through the hole and screamed in anger at the sight of his victim. Jake yelled loudly as he fired the shotgun, the pellets impacting the door as some of them hitting the infected in the torso and the shoulder, causing it to yelp like a dog and jumped back from the door in shock. Jake opened the door and yelled angrily as he fired a few more times at the infected, which jumped out of the way. Quickly ran back outside, leaving the man alone in the hotel reception area with an army of the infected menace outside, waiting to tear him apart when they got the chance to do so. He shook his head, horrified by the realization that he was now alone with a shotgun as his sole means of defense in a nation filled to the brim with things that wanted to tear him limb from limb, which had been abandoned by its governing body, leaving the people that had been left behind for dead. It was so close. It was so close.
Oh my god.
My favorite game, Left Behind for Dead.
Left Behind for Dead, it's the prequel.
He came to the conclusion that he had to find a way out of Fairfield, and sadly he wasn't going to be able to do that on his own, not without equipment or food and water to prevent him from starving as he attempted to flee a city filled with monsters. He had to find other survivors that were willing to work with him in a joint effort to get their ashes out of the city and hopefully maybe find some new clothes at some point. For now, the goal was to find someone else or multiple... Where does this go?
For now, the goal was to find someone else or multiple people to work with.
Okay, because that's just the exact thing he just said in the last sentence, and I couldn't figure out if I was repeating myself or not. I am, but it's also right.
Yeah?
Find someone else or multiple people to work with. He had to get out of the city, running down the corridor of the hotel, hearing angry screaming and shouting all around him. As infected advanced onto the hotel, hearing some chasing him down the corridor, jumping in shock as the infected lunged at him from an open doorway, smacking down with the butt of his shotgun and blasting its head off. Spraying blood all over the walls, he shook his head. You know, the world was... Hold on. This is... Finally. Dialogue. You know, the world is fucked up when you are forced to kill your fellow man. He
Now,
thought,
could you do that as Duke Nukem?
you know. No, I can't.
You know, the world is fucked
The
up when you're
world is
forced to
fucked
kill
up
your
when
fellow
you're
man.
forced to kill your fellow man. Unfortunately, they have to lick my balls.
Oh,
He
jeez.
thought to himself as he made his way up the stairs to the next floor up, hearing gunfire from multiple different places now, as well as people shouting and screaming as they fought against the infected for their lives.
I'm gonna think so hard.
They're having a brain blast match with fucking Jimmy Neutron.
Dude, a blast off?
Blast off. 3, 2, 1. Got a blast!
Do you think like that they just like stare at each other intently until one just falls unconscious?
Thought against the infected for their lives. Also, sorry, I forgot where I was, and then my brain shut off because I had to reanalyze every single individual word that was in the sentence so I could find back. Because it's so similarly written multiple times that
paragraphs
I have to
like max 5 to 6 sentences?
Yes.
Maybe that's for a reason.
Why? So stuff like this doesn't happen?
Yes.
Yeah. So I looked through the story, and it's written the same way, 5 big bulky paragraphs each one.
Oh God.
I always wonder too when to cut off paragraphs. You just kind of gotta know, but your paragraph should never ever turn into like a big chunk.
Big chunk. Big chungus. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I don't
coming to my
know.
TED Talk.
As much as I write, I don't know what the proper paragraph etiquette is, but usually like you know when to end the paragraph. Like
if a paragraph feels like it's getting long, it's probably 3 sentences too long.
Yeah. Once like you feel like you've concluded your thought and like the next sentence doesn't exactly like flow with the rest of it, I hit enter and make a new paragraph.
Which is fair. Yeah, we're almost done with this chapter, so let's
thank God.
Everything was going to hell, and it wasn't looking good for the human race, that was for sure. Firing only when something was a direct threat to him, as he didn't want to attract too much attention to himself. He could hear people around him fighting off the horde, flowing through the hotel, but he sure as hell couldn't see anyone. He would have to start a search from the top and make his way back down. If he couldn't find anyone, he would have to make his way out alone and hope he could find somewhere to shelter, as it would soon be getting dark. He sure as hell didn't fancy his clothes when he couldn't see... Chances... Clothes? My brain isn't fucking working. I can't do this. Chances when he couldn't see the enemy. Going up floor after floor, he heard people all around him lock themselves away, and others who weren't too lucky being slaughtered as they screamed for their last breath.
Their last
It was all going to hell in a handbasket real fast. End chapter. Author's notes. And there you have it, folks. The first chapter of my remake of my first story. As you can see, it's changed a lot from the version I wrote over 5 years ago. I've changed several things, including the age of Jake, the first character I introduced, and added a bit more to his character and time period he was escaping from the infected compared to the first version. This chapter is also more than twice as long as the first chapter of the original version, and I think many of the chapters are going to be like that, especially with the far shorter ones of the first version of the story. For now, at least, I will only be working on the remake of the story that you are reading now, and of course Left 4 Dead 2 with the next chapter about this story, and the one coming soon. Hopefully. As for Left 4 Dead Outbreak, it took me a while to write up the 2 chapters I did. You can see they are much longer than chapters in any other of my other stories, but rest assured that story will be finished sooner rather than later. As for Left 4 Dead 1, I do not feel like that will need some tweaking and adjusting at some point, but for the time being, I am leaving it as it is, as the final result wasn't that bad at all, at least compared to how much I rushed my first story to get done, which I need feels changing, much evident by the remake I am doing for it. With that all being said, I would be more than happy for you to all tell me if you prefer this version or the old one and give any feedback or changes do you like or think could be better. Until then, thank you for all taking the time to read this, and we will see you in my next upload. Peace out. Oh my god.
This has big YouTuber energy, dude.
I'm going to post a review. This is pretty name. SYTYC. Official review.
You know the saddest part is that I'm looking at the new one.
This is
I'm looking at the old one, A Tale of Survival. This looks so much more readable. This looks like infinitely more readable. And there's dialogue. It's so weird. So weird. But hey, I mean, I think there's one thing that we can all agree on about this, and that is we could really use a quick break. See you after the commercials or whatever. And welcome back to So You Think You Can Fanon. How are you guys handling it out?
I'm writing a review for this and posting it on the guy's page.
Oh dear. Sergio, how are you handling?
The story?
Yeah, just in general, yeah.
Okay, so my problems with this is, of course, it's very the blocky paragraph. Like I said before, it feels like an essay. You got your introductory paragraph, you got your like whatever you call it, the body, and then you got the conclusion. Very wordy, very verbose. It's very hard to read. I see some little things like you don't write 3, you write THREE. You never put the number unless it's something big. I think I remember the general rule being anything bigger than like 100 or something like that.
I posted.
Is not what you're supposed to write. I might be wrong on that, but just in general, if it isn't some really big unwieldy number that you have to write out, then you would write it in numerical form. As we pointed out, too many as's, too many ands. It doesn't really flow well. I wouldn't enjoy reading this fanfic. But so I think it's a good story idea, and I think it would be good if it was written better.
I think he's a very good describer, if that makes sense.
With his descriptions.
He's really good at painting visuals with his nothing but his words.
Yeah.
I think it's very impressive. It's just that
he needs refinement.
He repeats it and it goes on and on and on with what he talks about. Like he's like he says something about like, oh, this like the hooded creature, the hunter, obviously, if you played Left 4 Dead, you know that he's describing a hunter. Its sharp claws ripping through the man as the man screams in agony as he's being ripped apart from the creature's claws ripping him apart. That's so, like, redundant, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely something that I don't think is very, how do I put it nicely? It's something that's like, it's very hard to describe things, because I've been doing a lot of, like in my free time, I do a lot of, kind of roleplay with OCs stuff. I've been doing that for about like 8 to 9 years, so I'm kind of used to like writing shit.
Yeah.
But like when I'm describing, like I don't, since I can draw, I don't usually have to describe people. But when it comes to like facial expressions and painting like a scenery, I try and do a good job of like using different words instead of just kind of going over basic things like blonde, like short blonde hair, like or not short blonde hair. Like if I would describe a character with like freckles, I wouldn't say that they're like, I wouldn't say it's like, oh, they just have freckles on their cheeks, even though that's like a really easy way of describing it. I would like, I would want to paint a picture of like they have like a splash of earth that scatters across their face or something.
I try to be good at describing things when I run my D&D campaigns, because as Sergio knows, I have absolutely zero artistic ability in my hands. My hands are blind, basically. Like, I can't draw, my handwriting sucks.
I mean, I got pretty bad.
I'm not a good painter. I paint miniatures, but I'm not great at it.
Hey,
but I just do it for fun.
At least you do it.
So I like making up for it by describing things. And I hope that I do it well, Sergio. You would know better than me because you're my player.
I think you do. But in terms of writing, you should never be repeating yourself. Like if you describe something like, let's say there's a lot of things you say copious. Try not to say copious again.
Yeah, don't use copious amounts of words, wink.
Yes.
Yeah, like if you want to describe like the hunter, like describe like, oh, its razor claws tore into the man, sinking its talons deeper and deeper as he writhed in pain and
Never
screamed in
never my
agony.
immortal it either.
Yeah.
We don't need 2 paragraphs on a character's description, and if you've already described a character, don't describe them again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Unless
like,
it's in like passing, like, oh, like his shaggy blonde hair is swept out of the way, wiping away his sweat on his forehead, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know, like I don't know, it's a 40K novel, a Space Marine comes in, you describe the Space Marine's armor. Don't describe the armor again.
Yeah,
when
I don't need
that
every
Marine shows up again.
I don't need every chapter of a book being like, as he walked into the room, the first thing I noticed was the name on his shoulder pauldron. I wasn't entirely sure who it was, but when I read the name on it, I understood. This was the son of the Emperor, and he was here to save me. His pauldron glistened in the sunlight, as his pauldron shone as if it had been recently waxed.
I mean, I'm personally fine with like descriptions as long as they're not like, more than a paragraph. I think when you're describing something, you have to be like, take some artistic liberties with it.
Yeah.
I think the big thing with describing is you should describe if you haven't described in a while, and if you have, passing comments.
Yes, yeah. Like in the Marine comments, like I saw my friend again and saw his armor. His once pristine armor was marred with dirt and blood, something like that.
Yeah, it's usually like
you don't need to go. Yes, my friend Marcus Licinius of the 4th Company of Ultramarines, his blue armor, and then just go on and on.
His Ultramarine McCrack blue armor with a touch of Balthasar gold on the pauldrons as well as the chest, glistened in the sunlight. Yeah, sorry for interrupting you, but
no, you guys have been doing it a lot. It's okay. I'm like when you're trying to describe something, at least be like a little fruitful with it, like. Like if I were to describe, like, let's say, like a character that, like, I actually know, like, let me pull up a picture of, like, Samurai Jack so I can do it. So it's a little easier. Like I would first, like, I'd probably describe most importantly, probably his physique. I'd start with the physique because this is a warrior. I'd probably want something like that. Followed by probably the most notable features. Like, I mean, if you're like, I would never like really start with like the face unless there's something really noteworthy about the face. Like
if you wanted to describe Prince Zuko,
yeah, like you would have to describe the scar on the face. Like when you're talking about a character, you kind of want to give the audience a little bit of freedom to see them how they think. So like if I were to describe Samurai Jack, I would be like, the warrior had a very well-built physique and was able to stand up relatively straight with his good posture. His short black hair was toned up into a ponytail, almost looking like a dagger sticking out of the back of his head. However, the thing that drew your eye to his rather interesting appearance was the glistening white gi, something that wasn't seen very often within the future that Aku had laid. Like you want to give freedom for people to kind of be like, like if I have to, like the way I describe Jack, like people could see him as like a white guy or an Asian guy, or they could see him as a black guy. It doesn't matter because as long as they're invested in the story, it doesn't really.
Just don't be like J.K. Rowling and be like, yeah, this is this the whole time, even though there's evidence to contradict that.
Yeah, like unless you're like, I don't really see there's like ever a reason to describe somebody's skin tone. Like I would always say like you want to describe notable features that would help paint the picture. Like freckles, scars, the hair, like if it's flowing locks or if it's short, or like what kind of cut it is. Maybe describe their clothes a little bit so you can like infer from there. Facial hair, stuff like that. Stuff that really would help get a better picture without just like literally making 2 paragraphs of exactly what they look like.
That makes me think of a story I read on the topic of the skin tone. This guy was telling about how he almost died of an allergic reaction. He was tweeting about it on Twitter, and the reason was that when he called 911, they were asking him if he was turning blue, and he was like, "I don't turn blue. I'm not white." And they were like, "But are you turning blue?" And he was like, "No, I'm black. I'm not turning blue. I can't tell if I'm blue or not." And then they were like, "Well, then you're fine." And then he almost died of like, what's the shock you go to when you're in
Anaphylactic shock.
Yeah, anaphylactic shock because of the allergic reaction, and they had to have him in the hospital for a while.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
like,
there's times where like there are, I guess going back and retconning myself.
Mhm.
There are times where skin tone is important to note, but it's like it's
Mhm.
usually only, when it's actually important or something like that,
yeah,
Like if you're like if I want to make a story about just about African culture, I wouldn't just always describe them as black. I would just infer that the reader would know. But if I was doing more of like a I mean, even then I wouldn't even describe their skin tone because it doesn't matter to the story if it's in like a in a diverse book. Like let's say
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
no,
think
it's okay.
I think I what you're laying down. So imagine this: you're reading a book for young adults, right? Like kind of like for kids, and it's set in Britain, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about these kids who go to a school, is the heart of Britain, and
Okay.
there's this girl. She's usually described as like having like she's a brunette, she's got curly hair or whatever. And then after the book, you have this very clear like it's in Britain, right? And then the author tells you, oh no, they were black this entire time.
Yeah. That's where I'm like
How would I have inferred that?
I only like if it's like, let's say it's a story that takes place during colonial times and and it's like it's important for the reader to know that this is an African American. Then that's the only time I'd say that's perfectly acceptable to say, yeah, they're African American. But like you never really the only time where heritage is like actually an important feature is when it's brought up for story's sake. It's like Chekhov's gun. If you have to, if you are going to do something with it, you have to at least set it up. Or, maybe they just enjoy that sort of thing. I don't know. I really don't know.
But yeah, screw you, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Stop.
I guess,
Stop making dumb comments about your work after you've already published it.
Also, don't be a turf. I hate you.
Yeah, fuck turfs.
Also, justice for Cho Chang.
There's also, like, a lot of other things that, like, I had an interesting conversation with people about this, because I think this is also kind of noteworthy to talk about in terms of fiction, especially fan fiction, is, when does something become, like when you like something, like, let's say you really like this show, usually, like, what are some common things that you would say, like, as reasons that you like the show?
I don't know. That's a really good question because there's some shows that I really like that I really don't like. If that makes sense.
Like, there's shows that, like, I get what you mean though, but like I'm talking like a really good ass show. Like, let's say, for example, let's just take like the first 7 seasons of Game of Thrones and just ignore season 8.
I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Okay, never mind. I guess just think of
well,
what's a show that we all kind of, I guess, Dragon Ball. Think of Dragon Ball, and like, what would you say is like your favorite things about Dragon Ball?
Well, I guess just in general with shows, because I'm a big story and writing guy, I look at that. I usually go for like sometimes production value. Sometimes you're watching a low budget thing, but when they do like something cool, like when they really nail something, it's
Right.
like, oh yeah, that's good.
Wow, I wonder if Sergio is talking about Sentai.
No, I mean I was more or less thinking about like the Arrowverse shows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, because I was talking with somebody about it, and I was wondering if if a reason for liking a show purely is based off of good representation, does that mean that the show isn't like cannot be like bad in other like areas? Like let's say
No, it absolutely can be.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't see here's the thing about as a I hold this stance as a black person. I do not understand representation as it. Well, let me explain that. I myself don't like really want to be represented because I always see fiction as escapism. I don't want to be myself in the media.
That's fair.
If that makes sense. Like I really don't want to hop into a video game and be Johnny, 20 years old, mixed kid, works at a bookstore, has trouble speaking,
has a curved spine.
yeah, has scoliosis. Like I don't know, I don't want to be me. I want to be someone else.
I think it's important on the other side of things. I think it's important to have representation in certain medias, especially when it comes to like kids shows.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no, I don't. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just wondering if like if having good representation is a way that you can kind of like escape you know a show's major flaws.
I don't think that makes up for it at all.
Okay.
I think it can. A good representation can improve something, in my opinion, but I don't think good representation can.
Like I throw like a 0.5 on there with it, but like no. This is also another thing I hate is the kind of representation where it's like I'm gonna have some representation in my show. I'm gonna have a gay character. So you have the gay character, but the gay character is the worst character on the show, and then it kind of just defeats the purpose of having the representation.
I never watched Glee, but I know that was a thing in Glee.
I never watched. I never watched Glee. That was a general thing.
There was a trans character in Glee, but they were like really creepy and like flirty towards people who were very clearly uncomfortable with it. And then there was like a song, like there was a whole musical number about it because this guy was like weirded out about it, and they were like, well, it's the same person, and he's like, I know, but like I'm not comfortable with being flirted with now. Like I wasn't before, and I'm still not, and it's weird to me now. Like because
yeah, I mean I'm not saying that good representation shouldn't be ignored. I think it's definitely something that's really good and should continue happening. I just wish that the shows themselves didn't make it their main focus.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, I also don't like it when it's the focus. Diversity should just come naturally.
I think stuff like sorry for interrupting you, but stuff like the end of Adventure Time was a good way to do it.
I mean I sort of beg to differ because it was at the end of the series.
Yeah,
but, like, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, because the thing is, you can't. You notice a lot of cartoons do stuff like that at the end of their serialization for a reason, and the reason is that my dogs really want to be let into my room. What do you want, Polly? You're making it really hard for me.
Man, I can't believe Polly.
It's because you can't. You don't want to risk doing that in a society of people who a majority of people aren't comfortable with stuff like that. Because, like, homosexual rights are still a problem in the modern day. As much as, like, people try to sweep it under the rug, like, there's still a lot of homophobia. And there's a lot of people who go on Facebook and are like, they have kissing in this Adventure Time. If that happened in, like, Season 2, show would have been canceled.
You know, the funny thing is that in Season 2, Channel Frederator, or Frederator in general, got in trouble because they insinuated that Marceline and Bubblegum had a relationship, and that was like Season 2 or 3 of Adventure Time.
Yeah.
That was with the shirt thing.
They got in trouble.
Yeah, they got in big trouble. It was really bad.
Yeah, I would say just generally, diversity in your story should come naturally. I feel like the problem arises when you go like, because like if you're creating characters and you're like, all right, so my character what's it called Asian female. Like move on. Next guy, John. He's a black male. When you're specifically going, I gotta fulfill the diversity quota. This is a token black guy. I'm gonna make sure I put a little bit more focus on him than the other characters, so I can show them we're trying to be woke. We're trying to be a little diverse here, and that's where the problem lies most of the time. Because like look at like I guess the greatest example of diversity in kid shows, Power Rangers, where almost everyone is a different ethnicity. It's never a team of fully white people, and it's never like that's just like how it is. They don't pay attention to it. It's like it's fine.
Yeah, I get that. Because
And
like,
I'll let you go.
no, go ahead.
I was just say that's the one thing I really like about like Star Wars and like that's world. No one ever goes like, oh hey, it's like no one ever says like no one ever brings up that Ahsoka is a Torgruda. Ahsoka is just Ahsoka. Like they just treat the aliens, unless you're the Empire, they just treat the aliens like it's just a normal thing, and they don't ever pay attention to it.
Yeah. I know.
And I like that, and I think that's how diversity really should be in fiction.
I always thought that diversity should always be treated as such, but like, I mean, mostly I'm reading this up, and we've strayed a little further away, but I'm bringing this back up for fan fiction's sake, and that is because a lot of people really like doing shippings and stuff. And like I'm perfectly fine with it. I don't care. I mean, there are ships that I don't understand and will never get, like Bakugo x Midoriya. I'll never understand that.
That's a no.
I don't know how people get to that. I mean, but like you're free to do whatever you want. I'm
people...
someone who thinks that Ochaka or Uraraka and Bakugo would be kind of cute. So I have no room to talk.
I think the issue is people like they read into it and find things that aren't necessarily there. That makes sense.
I mean, it's all up to interpretation. That's kind of the fun thing about art as a medium. But I'm starting to notice specifically a lot is people flip out over gay characters. Like I notice this a lot with She-Ra. And I've stated before, I'm not a very big fan of She-Ra. But like when Catra and Adora kissed at the end, people flipped out.
Isn't that coming back?
I hope not.
I heard it was. I heard they were doing another season.
Why? There's no other stories or loose ends to tie up.
I might be completely wrong, but let me hold on.
I know the fans were going absolutely wild for a movie because that's what they really wanted.
Maybe there isn't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could have sworn.
I don't believe that there is. I'm just saying that now. I don't believe there is.
Okay.
But
someone's downstairs, Polly. Go figure that out.
But at the same time, I'm thinking back again to representation and stuff and all that good jazz, because there's people that are profiting off of it right now. I don't want to call people out, but Critical Role I've noticed.
But like, there's always gonna be people profiting off of that. That's just the way the world works.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm talking like I'm fine if it's like original characters, but this is like normal LGBT stuff, and I wouldn't see it as a big problem if it was like, just independent artists throwing something out there and being like, yes, do that. But the history that comes with what they're doing with it's just a mug with like a bunch of D20s that are themed around different pride flags. With a comment that has honestly become kind of a big thing, which is don't forget to love each other. It's been kind of viewed more as it just doesn't sit right with me, especially because not all the proceeds are going to like the charity that they're providing. Like it's like $6 for this mug's purchase will be going to this charity, where the rest of us, you could probably infer, is going to us. Like, I mean, that's just how business works. But at the same time, I don't like that it's Critical Role specifically doing it.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't know. Diversity's weird. I'm glad that it's happening. I would just wish that people would stop freaking out over two gay people being gay and happy. But I think, you know, since Jake's gone, Sergio, do you have any other topics that you'd like to discuss?
I mean, nothing really. Well, related to that.
What have I missed?
Nothing. I was just adding. I was just doing some last minute thoughts. Sergio was asked Sergio what he wanted, if he had anything to say.
I guess my last thing kind of related to that is I guess this is kind of a jab at the Last of Us Part 2 a little bit. But like as I was saying, as I think of fiction as escapism, and I think what I'm about to describe, it like you can have this as stories, but like let's say for example, I'm pitching you a game, right? And I'm like, all right, Michael, in this game, you're playing as Juan.
Okay.
He's a Mexican American.
Gotcha.
All right, and this is an action adventure game. Mm-hmm. And you may be thinking, oh, okay, so you know, I'm Juan. I'm a suave Mexican dude. I got a little bit of an accent, right? So who am I fighting this game, right? Am I fighting zombies? Am I fighting aliens? Am I taking on God? Is this a JRPG? And then I go, no, you will be taking on ICE and the Trump administration. And you're like, well, I don't want to I at least don't want to, like, that's not why I'm playing a video game. I wanted to, you know, do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get what I mean? Like if I'm playing a gay character, I don't have to go through the rigmarole of seeing like my parents disown me in the world, like shit all over me. Like, can I just be a hero or something that also happens to like dudes?
I think the thing with that, in my perspective, is that companies don't do that with the intention of hurting anyone, right? Like, they think that they're giving representation, like, by being like, look, this is what they go through. But by showing, like, look, this is what they go through, you're also kind of making them go through that, are you not?
Yeah.
Like, especially when it comes to stuff like, I wouldn't want to, if I had to live through that in my real life, and I wanted to just, like, play a video game to escape my problems, I wouldn't want to go through that fucking again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, and I've been agreeing with a lot of people, that I think, especially for other games out there, that people should, like, for like let's say, like, take Persona, for example, just because I've been hearing it mostly around there, is that there should be an option for you to romance the same-sex characters. Like, if you're going to be playing as the silent protagonist, you might as well give them the option to do that, but at the same time, I understand the whole thing of, like, this isn't really a silent protagonist. Like, they have their own lives, and maybe they're just straight.
I'll say this about the Persona thing. I think because like the whole thing is like you're playing as a straight person, just in general, and the characters around you, just they aren't gay. There was in Persona 4, you were supposed to be able to romance Yosuke, but they went back on that. And going from the game, I never thought of Yosuke as gay. I mean, he had a strong relationship with the protagonist, but I always thought of it more as a friend thing.
But I mean, you should have the option to. That's what I'm saying.
Because see, the problem there lies in if you play Dragon Age 2. In Dragon Age 2, because they also thought of this this conundrum, and what they did was, instead of like having like just straight like straight options, like a bi character you could go with, and a straight gay option, everyone was bisexual. So you kind of lose the identity of the characters when they'll just kind of swing either way, especially in the case of a character named Anders, who
I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that every character has to be gay. I'm just saying that it would be nice to have an option for that, you know?
Like how Fire Emblem does it.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Fire Emblem Three Houses, because that game
I don't
okay.
I haven't finished Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I don't intend to. But I'm just saying, like, I was perfectly fine having 3 options to be in a gay lesbian relationship. I was fine with that. It's just even giving them like even maybe 1 or 2 options. That's fine. Like that's. I'm not saying that's a like make everyone bisexual. I'm just saying give us like maybe 1 or 2.
And I think the Dragon Age 2 thing is another example of like they think it's okay, right? Like they think they're doing it in a way that is inclusive, but by doing it in that way, you're kind of like I trivializing what they go through, you know?
Yeah, especially because
Like-
there's a.
We like,
Sorry, I'll let you go.
Yeah, no, like to be inclusive, we made everyone gay, so you can love whoever you want. Like, I'm sorry, that's not how that works in the real world. You can't just be like.
But then the argument comes back as, well, it's escapism.
Yeah.
As I said, it's like I think most people would be perfectly fine with just 1 or 2. Like,
Oh,
not
no,
everyone
I
has to
agree.
be gay. Just give us the option to do like 1 or 2.
Well, I think my most problem is that people in the Persona community who say like, oh, I want a gay romance option, don't say I want to make a gay romance. Like, oh, why can't I romance X character? It's like, well, I'm sorry, but said character is straight. That's why you can't romance them. Like, I think it would be fine to like I'm not against having that option, but you shouldn't be able, like the complaint of I can't romance the straight characters. Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You're both straight men. Why would you go for each other?
I don't know. It's a weird thing. I think there's a lot of things I like to think about, especially when it comes to fiction. I think that's all I have. Jake, do you have anything you want to throw out?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, hopefully our real surprise will be next week.
That's true.
Otherwise, who knows? Maybe we'll do something also a little special. But I think that's about it. Sergio, any last minute remarks?
No.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching or listening to So You Think You Can Fanon. We will catch you guys next week at our usual 4 p.m. time on Fridays and all that good stuff. So stay safe and have a good day, night, evening, whatever.